quiz, simple experimental probability. Officially, the quiz is due tomorrow, but we are always ahead and we complete things before time. So those who complete tomorrow will have a little tutorial video to watch if they need help. This is question 1, variety 1. Question 1, variety 1. Link to Nearpod in the chat if you would love to join and also share your work with me. And here the question says, the table shows the results of rolling a number cube with sides labeled 1 through 6 several times. A person actually is rolling a number cube, right? They're actually rolling a number cube, a dice or a die. And the die has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? Numbers on its faces. They want, and this is an experiment because if somebody is actually conducting an experiment or doing some kind of experiment, this is going to be experimental probability. So what is the experimental probability of rolling 1 or a 5? Right? Rolling a 1 happened 10 times. Rolling a 5 happened 6 times. Altogether, rolling a 1 or rolling a 5 happened 16 times. Do you all agree it happened 16 times? Rolling a 1 or rolling a 5 happened 16 times. So if you are finding probability of 1 or a 5, it happened 16 times. Out of a total tries, let's see what is the total. Let's figure out the total. Let's add 10 plus 6. That is 16 plus 4, 20. Plus 8, 28. Plus 6, 34. Plus 6, 40. Out of 40 tries, right? Out of 40 tries, rolling a 1 or a 5 happened 16 times. Are there any questions? And I can simplify this, right? You simplify this by 8, I will get the answer in simplest form. Make sure you do simplify all your answers, otherwise I think the computer will not accept it right. So 16 divided by 8 gives you 2. 40 divided by 8 gives you 5. So you can say that probability of experimental probability of rolling a 1 or a 5 is 2/5. Are there any questions? Okay, let's try another one. Question 1, in fact, throughout the quiz, all questions are very similar. They are not really challenging. They just follow a same pattern. They're all experimental probability, right? They're doing some kind of experiment. Now again, this table shows the result of rolling a number cube with sides labeled 1 through 6 several times. What is the experimental probability of rolling a 2 or a 4? This is the number of times a person rolls 2. This is the number of times a person is rolling a 4. You guys all agree? All right? And all together they roll a 2 or a 4, 6 plus 8, 14 times. They roll it 14 times. Right? They roll 6 and they roll a 2 or a 4, altogether 14 times. So we know it happens 14 times that a person either rolls a 2 or a 4 out of a total of, let's find the total number of tries. Add up 10 6, 4, 8, 6, and 6. I again got 40. In the 40 tries, they get a 2 or a 4 14 times. Remember, in probability, it is important that you will respond back in answers in simplest forms, and both are even numbers could be simplified by 2. Everybody go simplify and see how much your answer looks like. So if you simplify by 2, 14 divided by 2 gives you 7. 20 and 40 divided by 2 will give you 20. Seven over 20 is the experimental probability of rolling a 2 or a 4, right? Let's go move on to question 1, variety 3. Again, the exact same question. Does not complicate it at all. The table shows results of rolling a number cube with sides 1 through 6 several times. What is the experimental probability of rolling a 3 or a 6? Rolling a 3 happens 4 times. Rolling a 6 happens 6 times. So let's see all together. Rolling a 3 or a 6 happened 10 times, right? And out of a total of how many times? Let's count. We will add 10 plus 6 plus 4 plus 8 plus 6 plus 6. So we know the total. The total again was 40. Didn't change the total anytime. So rolling a 3 or a 6 happens 10 out of 40 times. And that can be reduced by 10. Make sure in probability you will always give answer in simplified terms. Otherwise, the quiz might not accept your answers. So 10 divided by 10 is going to be 1. 40 divided by 10 is going to be 4. Right? It is going to happen 1/4 of the times. Are there any questions? Noah, welcome to class. I'm glad you were able to join. You really wanted some help with probability, and here we are doing, right? If for some reason you missed some parts, Kyler, I am right now doing this quiz 6.03. I completed doing question 1, right? Remember, the session is being recorded. If you miss some part of today's video, you will also watch recording so you can get help on the ones you need help. And Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are my open sessions. You can join and ask help from anything that you will need help on. That could also mean if you need help with these quizzes again, we will also go over once again. Here, this is question 2, variety 1. Spinner has 3 sections. The table shows results of spinning the arrow on the spinner 80 times. They have been kind. They told you 18, 30, 32. They gave you the total. Total is 80. Altogether, there were 80 spins. Altogether, there were 80 spins. You want to figure out the experimental probability of the arrow stopping over section 3, right? You want probability for section 3? That happened 32 times out of 80 spins. It happened 32 times out of the 80 spins. Section 3, right? And then we can simplify. I was able to simplify by a really big number. You can choose to simplify by smaller. Joycelyn, and I know you also are simplifying by a big number. I did by 16. But if you simplify by smaller numbers and continue to do multiple times, you will still get the same answer, right? 32 divided by 16 gives you 2. 80 divided by 16 gives you 5. So you will know that 2 over 5, answer choice D is correct. Okay, this is how you will do. Let's look at the second, and all the question 2 looks very much like this. The spinner has 3 sections, and the table shows the results of spinning the arrow on the spinner 80 times. So you know the total number of spins will be 80. The question is asking, what is the experimental probability of the arrow stopping over section 2? This many times it stopped on section 2, 36 times out of 80. So you can set it up. You will say, section 2, spinner stopped 36 times out of 80. And you definitely will reduce your answer so you can figure out which answer choice looks correct. Let's see if you can reduce by 4. Let's see, Joycelyn, did you simplify by 4? Yeah, Joycelyn also is choosing to simplify by 4. 36 divided by 4 gives you 9. And 80 divided by 4 gives you 20. So the experimental probability, experimental is the result of an experiment. The experimental probability of the arrow stopping over section 2 is going to be 9 over 20. Right? And what does the word probability mean? The word probability means the likelihood, the chance of something happening. So in this case, I will say the chance of the spinner stopping on section 2 is 9 over 20. And so it is less than a 50-50 chance. This is question 2, third variety. Spinner has 3 sections. Their table shows results of spinning the arrow on the spinner 80 times. So remember, all these number of spins will add up to be 80. The question says, what is going to be the experimental probability of the arrow stopping over section 1? Section 1, it stops 28 times out of 80. So this is how you can express as a fraction. So spinner stops on section 1 28 times out of 80. Again, it seems simplifying by 4, yeah, Joycelyn did also, simplifying by 4 is working. So 28 divided by 4 gives you 7. 80 divided by 4 gives you 20. That is going to be the probability in simplest terms. 7 over 20. Your answer choices might be in a different order. Make sure you read the answer choices very carefully, right? Your answer choices might be in different order. That does happen. Let's move on to question 3. Question 3 will need answers in percentages. And that is going to be a nice good review for percentages. See, A, B, C, D are in percentages. A card was selected at random from a standard deck of cards. So the suit of the cards was recorded, then the card was put back in the deck. The table shows the results after 40 trials. I know number of total trials were 40. And the question is saying, what is the relative frequency of selecting diamond? Most of the time, relative frequency is in decimals or percent. And this time they did percents. Okay? And they want diamond. Diamond happened 12 out of 40 times, right? So we can say diamond happened 12 out of 40 times. If you want, you can simplify it by 4. This will help you make a percent, right? Simplify it by 4. And that will reduce 12 over 40 to 3 over 10. Now 3 over 10, it is very easy to make into a percent. Right? 3 over 10 is very easy to make into a percent. How? Percent will be a number out of 100. So you can make it out of 100 by multiplying by 10. If you multiply it by 10, you will get 30 over 100. 30 over 100 is 30%. Right? Anything out of 100 is talking about percent. So 30 over 100 will make 30%. That's how you can change it to percent. Very good, Joycelyn. Right? And there's so many other ways to make it into a percent, right? Joycelyn, you used a different way than I did, but you can make it into a decimal, you can make it in so many different ways, so that's 30%. Let's look at question 3, variety 2. A card is randomly selected from standard deck of cards, and the suit of cards was recorded. Then card was put back into the deck. The table shows results after 40 tries, right? This table shows result of 40 tries. So if you add these tries up, they add up to be 40. What is the relative frequency? It is just another word for probability. What is the relative frequency of selecting a club? And club happened 8 times. So we can just say, okay, 8 out of 40 tries was club. And we can change it to a percent, right? By simplifying by 4. If you simplify it by 4, it becomes 2 over 10. 2 over 10 is the same as, if you multiply it by 10, 2 over 10 is also the same as 20 over 100. 2 over 10 is the same as 20 over 100 if you're multiplying the fraction by 100, right? And 20 out of 100 is 20%. Are there any questions? Let's go look at the third variety of question 3. And here it is. A card was selected at random from a standard deck of cards. Suit of cards was recorded, then the card was put back in the deck. Table shows results after 40 trials. 40 trials means if you add up these numbers, that is supposed to be 40. What is the relative frequency of selecting a heart? Heart happened 14 times. So let's say 14 over 40. 14 out of 40 times was the heart, right? If you simplify by 2, you get 7 out of 20. Still not a percent yet, right? To make it into a percent, you want to find out of 100. So in order to find out of 100, simple, from 20 to 100, it is times 5. And you can also set times 7 by 5. And that gives you 35%. This is one of the several ways to do it. If you have a better way to do it than this one, absolutely go for it. Right? This is one of the several ways. You can do percentages in so many different ways. Right? I got 35. Joycelyn's still in the process of finding. Edgar, I don't see your work, so I can give you feedback, but this is what I got. 35%. Yes, Joycelyn verifies 35%. Let's move on to question 4. Now, questions will look similar, and it seemed like the quiz was allowing you guys to use calculator in question 4 and 5. The numbers were not so neat. The numbers were just not so neat. But let's check it out. A jar contained 6 red marbles, 10 green marbles, and 8 blue marbles. A marble was selected at random, the color was recorded, and the marble was placed back in the jar. The table shows the results of 60 tries. Now the table is going to show you the result of 60 tries. So I know this total added up 13, 30, 17 is 60. We are talking here about experimental probability. So this table is going to be meaningful to me because this is the result of an experiment. Somebody conducted an experiment 60 times. They were able to choose a red marble 13 times, green marble 30 times, and a blue marble 17 times. Result of the experiment, trial 60 times. What is the relative frequency of selecting a red marble? Okay, they want a red marble. Relative frequency happened 13 times out of 60, right? That's all I'm going to say. Okay, it happened 13 times out of 60. But remember, they wanted answer as a percent. So you can go ahead, change it as a percent. Make it over 100. And this will give you the amount of percent. No problem, Xavier, no problem. One easy way to handle this one is cross multiplying. So I will multiply 13 times 100. And I get 13 times 100 gives me 1300. Then I will divide by 60. Then divide by 60. Okay. One easy way to divide by 60 is to drop off the zeros. Christine, then I'm going to give you a link to the Nearpod. Just do it in Nearpod and I will accept your work. Right? Let me see if I can get you the link now. But in fact, I'll just email you. Okay, Christine, send me an email and I'm going to send you an email to the Nearpod link. So we don't distract everybody at this time. So one of the easy ways to divide by 60 is I drop off a 0 and I drop off a 0. So this is how the new question looks like. Okay, take away the 0, simplify it so you have less numbers to deal. So divide 130 by 6. This is one easy way to divide, right? And divide by 6. So let me know how much do you guys get. When I did that, I got approximately 22%. When I divided, I got approximately 22%. And Joycelyn, they wanted you to round, right? Enter your answer, round it to the nearest percent. So nearest whole percent, nearest whole number was 22. 22%, right? If you round up, there you go, 22%. Let's move on to question 4, variety 2. So again, a jar contained 12 red marbles, 16 green marbles, and 10 blue marbles. A marble was selected at random, the color was recorded, and the marble was placed back in the jar. The table shows result of 80 trials. It is going to be experimental probability. So this table is more meaningful to me, right? And it's going to show me results of 80 trials. If you add these numbers, 28, 30, 22, it should give you 80. This is what the question says. It is a result of 80 trials. So what is the relative frequency of selecting a green marble? Green happened 30 times. So this is how you can set it up. It happened 30 times. So you will say 30 out of 80. Right? Or 3 out of 8. Right? 3 out of 8 in simplified terms. Then you want it as a nearest percent. Let's change it to a nearest percent. So 3 out of 8. We're going to make it into a percent. Percent means denominator of 100. I will do cross multiply and divide by 3. So multiply 3 times 100. 3 times 100 will give you 300. And you divide by 8. Right? And then divide by 8. Cross multiply and then divide by 8. When I did that, I will get something like 37.5. Perfect, Christine, perfect. Kendra, what is 9 divided by 192? Kendra, we have to do the math later. But here you do 300 divided by 8, you get 37.5. And because they want to nearest percent, nearest full whole number, so I will just say to the nearest whole number, the answer is going to be 38%. Nearest whole number, right? The question says nearest whole number. So that will end up being 38%. Although very precisely, if you did, it is going to be 37.5 because I have knowledge about my 3/8. My 3/8 is 0.375. So it was 37.5, but to the nearest whole number, 38%. Then quiz will mark it right. Otherwise, it will not mark it right. Remember, round to nearest percent, nearest whole number. Okay, let's move on to the third variety of question 4. A jar contained 18 red marbles, 14 green marbles, and 20 blue marbles. A marble was selected at random, color was recorded, marble was placed back in the jar. It is a result of 60 trials. So we know this table is the result of 60 trials. And in this question, remember this table is more meaningful because it is talking about the experiment that was conducted. It is about experimental probability. You want to find the relative frequency or probability of selecting a blue marble. So blue marble happened 20 times. Yes, that is true, Xavier. My math students know the expectation, and you will not see people bombard the chat here. Those of us who are here are for learning, otherwise they are not here. Absolutely. So the chance of getting a blue is 20 out of 60. Chance of getting a blue is 20 out of 60. If you reduce it by 20, you will get 1/3. Do you guys know how much is 1/3 as a decimal? Do you guys know how much is 1/3 as a decimal? 1/3 as a decimal is 0.333 ongoing. 0.333 ongoing. So we can just do 33 and an ongoing mark, right? But as a percent, you need nearest whole percent. You will say 33%. You will not say the ongoing, but you will just say 33%. As a percent, 0.333 ongoing is just 33%. Are there questions before we move on to question 5? Question 5 is very similar to question 3 and question 4. No new technique, no new strategy in questioning. Here is question 5, variety 1. A spinner has 5 sections labeled A, B, C, D, E. The spinner is spun 45 times. So I know this experiment was conducted 45 times. 6, 10, 8, 12, 9 added to be 45. Okay. What is the experimental probability of the spinner landing on C? 8 times landed on C. So we can say, okay, 8 out of 45 times it landed on C. If you are trying to make it into a percent, you are thinking of, okay, then how many times out of 100? Some of you will make some really good guesses, right? And you can make it around twice, right? 8 out of 45. 8 out of 45 is, I'm going to make an estimate because I have 4 answer choices, right? Oh, the answers are quite close, right? Jocelyn might not be the best estimate, but still 8 out of 45, if I double that, it is going to be 16 out of 90. So I have to figure out if it's 16 out of 90, then how much out of 100? It might be either 18 out of 100 or 20 out of 100, right? We will do some formal calculations to get to the answer so we don't get wrong answers. We will multiply 8 times 100. We get 800. And then we will divide by 45. 800 divide by 45. It is important you write down multiples of 45 before you start dividing. In this way, you will get some precise answer. And divide by 45. My guess is 16 out of 90, and I did calculations definitely. I got an answer that was 18%. It is around, it is rounding, right? I rounded to the nearest percent, and that was then 18. That is after rounding. It was not precise answer, right? If somebody is trying to do calculations. There you go. Jocelyn got 17 point something, right? So rounded up, it was 18. Let's go move on to the second variety of question 5, and it is going to be very similar. And here again, very same question. Say spinner has 5 sections labeled A, B, C, D, E. Spinner is spun 60 times. So I know the experiment was conducted 60 times. 15 plus 10 plus 18 and 11 and 6, all this will add up to be 60. Because the experiment was conducted 60 times. So what is the experimental probability of the spinner landing on E? And that happened 6 times, right? So 6 out of 60. If you want to reduce it by 6, it is going to be 1/10. And because percentages out of 100, you can multiply your 1/10 by 10, and that will give you 10 out of 100. 1/10 is also 10 out of 100. So your correct answer is going to be 10%. Are there any questions before we move on to the final part of question 5? And here is question 5. The spinner has 5 sections labeled A, B, C, D, E. Spinner was spun 84 times. Remember, 84 times means if you combine these numbers up, 14 plus 20 plus 18 plus 15 plus 17, the total was 84 spins. What is the experimental probability of a spinner landing on A? And it landed on A 14 times. So this is how we can set it up. So it landed on A 14 times out of 84 times. And we can reduce it by 7. So 7 how many times goes into 14? It goes 2 times. 7 how many times goes into 84? Goes in 84 12 times. I can then reduce again by 2. Right? And I get 1 over 6. Then we got to change it into a percent. So how do we change it into a percent? We can say 1 over 6, change it to a denominator of 100. I will multiply, cross multiply, and then divide. Do 1 times 100. you will get 100 and divide by 6. And then divide by 6. Your approximate answer, remember, it's not going to be precise. I did this one and it was not a very precise answer because you have to round to the nearest whole number, right? I got an answer that was 17%. But Joycelyn is working out. Let's see, Joycelyn, you got 16 point. Let's see what you get. But when you round to the nearest whole number, you end up getting 17%. And this marks the end of quiz 6.03. We did all the questions. If you missed any of the part or any of the question, make sure you will watch the recording and you will get a hold of how to do it. If you want help on 6.02, I also did that yesterday, and they were recorded sessions. I published the recordings. Go ahead, refer to the recording if you're still confused. Come back tomorrow or throughout the week in open office, and we are here to help. Right? Thank you so much for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day.